That's right, Griff. But before I get to those initial targets, we can confirm that there were sirens not only in Bahrain, but also Qatar. That is significant because it suggests incoming missiles into both of those countries where the U.S. military has key bases. In Bahrain, of course, home to the U.S. Navy's Fifth Fleet, we are hearing reports that there is smoke rising on the horizon in the vicinity of that base. We also understand that, again, Qatar would be a logical target because Al Udeid would be the largest U.S. air base in the Middle East. They obviously have removed a lot of the airframes and warplanes from that base in anticipation of this. Americans who are living in Bahrain, UAE, Qatar have been told to shelter in place, and the U.S. military had dispersed a lot of its personnel. Remember, there were about 30,000 to 40,000 American troops at bases across the Middle East, but the U.S. military over the last 2 months have been drawing down and reorienting those individuals. Now, here are some of the targets that we can confirm in these dozens of strikes that have taken place in the last 3.5, 4 hours. The Iranian parliament was targeted. The National Supreme Council was targeted. Ministry of Intelligence, Iranian Atomic Energy Agency. Cyber attacks have taken place on news agencies such as IRNA, which is the state-run news organization. The internet is out in Iran, as far as we know, so it's going to be very difficult for civilians in Iran to get the information about what's occurring right now. There are unconfirmed reports that Iran's defense minister was targeted, as well as the head of the judiciary. That would be significant because the head of the judiciary would have delivered many death sentences, thousands of death sentences to protesters over the years. So it would be logical that he would have been a target. But what's clear, Griff, from these initial strikes is that this is an attempt at regime change. We've talked in recent days about how broad would this mission be? Would it be only the nuclear sites? Would it be the nuclear sites plus the ballistic missile storage sites, which Israel was very concerned about and had pressed the U.S. to include as part of the targeting? Now it is extremely clear that this is a targeted, the strikes are targeting Iran's leadership, including the supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, who Lucas Tomlinson was reporting took power over 37 years ago. He took over in 1989. He's the longest serving leader in the Middle East, and his compound was targeted in the early hours and maybe even the first strike that took place. That is symbolic and that is significant. And you heard the president appeal to the Iranian people, saying that this moment is a moment in history that you should seize. After the bombing stops, he appealed to them to rise up, and he said, the hour of your freedom is now. He said, stay in your house until we're finished, but this is the moment that you can take over your government and seize power. That is significant because we weren't sure that this was going to be a regime change operation, but it's very clear from the initial set of targets that that is exactly what it is, Griff.
Jennifer, just as you were starting your reporting there, we're seeing on the wires that Bahrain is confirming the headquarters of the U.S. Navy's Fifth Fleet has been targeted by a missile attack, and the president adding in that video message that American casualties are a real possibility here as we wake up now and learn of this major joint combat operation between the U.S. and Israel is launched. This could pose a significant threat to Americans in this operation.
I think what's significant, Griff, is that the American people and even the president himself have been used to carrying out some very significant military operations in which there were no U.S. casualties. The operation in Venezuela last summer, the days of striking during the 12-day war, targeting the nuclear sites. It's significant that the U.S. has not put ground troops in the Middle East. So that is a big difference from the 2003 Iraq War. There's been no large buildup of any sort of ground forces. That is not part of the planning or part of the calculation. This is going to be an air and Navy operation. But again, the Iranians, while they may have been stunned and surprised in the initial hours, and it took them about 3.5 to 4 hours before they launched their first missiles toward Israel and now toward the U.S. base in Bahrain and as well as in Qatar, they were likely, the command and control was likely disrupted in those initial hours. There was likely some electronic warfare that caused it so they couldn't figure out which way anything was coming and how to, and then it was difficult to fire those missiles. But now you can expect in the coming hours and days, the Iranians have a large store of missiles, and they have mobile missile launchers in the west. And at the narrowest point in the Strait of Hormuz, it's just 21 miles across. So those cruise missiles can be fired, and ballistic missiles, and it takes literally minutes before they reach their target. So that is very hard to defend against, even if you have Patriot missile defense systems and THAAD missile systems. And so the U.S. military had done a really good job of drawing down at those bases. I doubt there were more than a few dozen people at the Bahrain headquarters of the U.S. Navy's Fifth Fleet. So again, the president preparing the American people that there could be casualties, and that that's unfortunately a side effect of an outcome of war. But again, the American people have gotten used to having no casualties in these recent, very successful operations that the military has carried out. That may not be the case with this. This is a much different operation involving many, many more troops and airmen and sailors, and it is very possible there can be accidents as well as strikes by the Iranians. That cannot be ruled out at this point.
And as we learn more, Jennifer, we'll find out exactly how this initial operation started. But I think it was very fascinating that you brought up, of course, the invasion of Iraq in 2003, a ground invasion, and the